Hi everyone, I'm Large Pokemon, and this is my video on ability concepts to hopefully fix bad Pokemon. So in this video we're going to be going through a few ability concepts that I came up with that can hopefully remedy or salvage Pokemon that are pretty bad or unviable competitively. So without further ado, let's get into it. First, the ability Scouting, and it makes opposing Pokemon's multi-hit moves only hit this Pokemon once. So this is going to be very useful against Pokemon that are very reliant on multi-hit moves like Garchomp or Kyurem, and this ability essentially kind of cripples the opposing Pokemon. We give it to Passimian to replace its ability Trance Receiver or Transceiver. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I just remember it's pretty useless. Can give it to Fiero since Fiero is weak to Rock Blast and Ice Cold Spear, and I just woke up this morning thinking of Fiero. I've kind of forgotten about Fiero. It's like the first time I've thought about it since I've played Argo and Soul Silver. And we have Spidops. So Spidops is probably going to be a semi-decent sticky web setter in lower tiers hopefully, since this thing cannot be KO'd by multi-hit moves and it can get sticky web up very efficiently. Next up is Undying Vendetta. If the Pokemon is hit with a super effective attack, all of its attacks have their base power boosted by 50%. This is kind of a strong ability, and I gave it to Pokemon with very bad typings. Typings that are bad defensively specifically. Alolan Raticate here is a Dark Normal type, 4 times weak to Fighting. Pangoro's Dark Fighting, 4 times weak to Fairy. Grapploct is Mono Fighting, which is not a good type, especially considering Grapploct has pretty poor defenses and low speed. As you realize, all of these Pokemon are not in Generation 9, so they have no access to Terrestrialization to eliminate these very key weaknesses. So I'm hoping this ability can kind of save them. You could run a Focus Sash to maybe live a super effective hit. You could also set up, and they won't become completely useless. You'll probably bring something down with them. So this ability relies a lot on raw power. All our attackers. Alright, next is the ability Intimidate. We already have Intimidate, so why not Intimidate? It lowers all adjacent enemy Pokemon's special attack by 1 stage. So basically the special attack equivalent of Intimidate. Intimidate is an amazing ability, and Intimidate can hopefully be much better. So we give it to Duran because Duran is an ant. Flygon is an antlion. It still puzzles me as to why Flygon only has a single ability. Like, frankly, I think this ability will be quite good. Competitively, you're going to be able to handle stuff like Miraidon much easier. Though these Pokemon might not have the best typings, Intimidate should kind of save them. Next is Happy Nourishment. When the Pokemon falls below 35% of its total HP, it restores half of its max health, but its attack and special attack are dropped by 1 stage each. And this ability can only activate once per game for balancing purposes. This ability caters to like fatter Pokemon, tankier Pokemon like Wobbuffet and Licky. It just gives them more longevity in game. We also give it to Cramorant because Scout Missile is a pretty unreliable ability. Wobbuffet is essentially useless without Shadow Tag, since Shadow Tag is banned in nearly every tier but AG. Not sure if it's banned in Ubers. Licky is just a bad Pokemon in general. Hopefully giving it Happy Nourishment could make it a better stall Pokemon. Maybe it could rise up a tier or 2. Cramorant, I'm not exactly sure if it will benefit from this ability, but hopefully it won't stay in ZU forever. Next up is Draconic Fury. It halves the damage taken from Fairy type attacks, and it also removes the secondary effects from such attacks. So this ability is given to namely Dragon type Pokemon like Haxorus, Tyrantrum and Druddigon, all of which are very weak to the common Fairy type attacks. These Pokemon are also not particularly fast, so they may be very susceptible to faster Fairy type Pokemon that could easily OHKO them. Haxorus especially, that's very reliant on Terra Steel just to get rid of that weakness. Okay, Haxorus and Tyrantrum are very hard-hitting Dragon Dance sweepers, so I think they'll benefit quite a bit from having one of their key weaknesses eliminated. And for Druddigon, having one less weakness is pretty good in general. So next up is Superfly. This ability is curated specifically for Ledian. It triples the attacks stat of the Pokemon. Okay, for clarification, we are tripling the base attack of the Pokemon once it enters battle. So Adamant Ledian probably has like a base 200 something attack stat. If you triple that, it's probably going to be somewhere near 600. That's slightly less than King Gambit after Swords Dance. I'm not exactly sure, but I think this ability would really be a saving grace for Ledian. and hopefully make it viable, because Choice Bandit, Mark Punch from Ledian could hit pretty hard with this ability. We've seen what Huge Power did for Azumarill. I don't think this will be any different for Ledian. Next is D-Shell. This thing's basically an inbuilt Shell Smash. When the Pokemon falls below 50% of its total HP, its defense and special defense are dropped by 2 stages, while its attack, special attack, and speed are raised by 2 stages. So this thing only activates once. I forgot to mention that, and we are giving it to Pokemon with pretty bad defensive typings. Like, a lot of these Pokemon are built around being defensive, but they're really held back by their typing. Like, you see Caracosta 4 times weak to grass, Omastar suffering from that same problem. Armaldo is kind of offensive, but Bug and Rock is not a great offensive typing. You're beat to a lot of stuff. So what I'm thinking is that you could just invest a little bit more defense into these Pokemon, and they can still hit pretty hard, thanks to this inbuilt Shell Smash. Probably invest more on their speed as well, and just convert them into all-out attackers. Yeah, I think this buff is much better than their initial abilities. Could replace something like Battle Armor for Omastar. Next up, we have Monochromacy. All of this Pokemon's attacks will do neutral damage to opposing Pokemon at minimum. So basically, opposing Pokemon that would normally resist or be immune to its attack will take neutral damage at the very least. There's no way of resisting or being immune to this Pokemon's attack. So as you guys can see, I gave it to Dustox because Dustox is pretty awful. Obstagoon because Obstagoon is a monochrome Pokemon, it's black and white. And Crobat because nobody really uses Crobat nowadays. Back then it would see a little bit of usage, but its typing is not very strong offensively. Also, some bats have monochrome vision. Next is the ability Muscle Memory. So the Pokemon's physical attacks do 30% more damage if the enemy Pokemon has already been damaged by a direct attack from it. So this ability does not take damage from status moves like Toxic or Will-O-Wisp into account. You have to attack the other Pokemon directly for this ability to activate, then your physical attacks will do 30% more damage. I feel like this ability could have a lot of potential. It has good synergy with multi-hit moves like Triple Dive, Rock Blast. We give it to Wugtrio because Wugtrio gets Triple Dive, Barbaracle, that thing gets Rock Blast, and Sock because Sturdy is not a very good ability for an offensive Pokemon. And Troll has Guts, which is not very fair. So hopefully this ability could benefit Sock a little bit more. Next up we have Screen Setter. This thing is kind of a rework to Mr. Rhyme's signature ability, Screen Cleaner. I'm actually not sure if this ability will be overpowered. The Pokemon sets up a random screen on entry except for Aurora Veil, of course. And screen moves include Reflect, Light Screen, and Safeguard perhaps. I'm not sure if you consider that a screen move. Mr. Rhyme is really useless competitively. I think this ability would make it at least semi-viable. Most like doubles maybe. Setting up a screen without even having to waste a turn is incredibly good. But at the same time, Mr. Rhyme has horrible defensive typing. You'd probably be forced to run a focus sash on it at all times. And last but not least is Volatility. The Pokemon gains same type attack bonus on all of its non-contact moves. I give this ability to Pokemon that aren't really benefiting from their current abilities. Like Excelgor doesn't really need Unburden, so Volatility could hopefully make it into a hard-hitting special attacker. Beheeyem could also make good use of Volatility. Analytic isn't a bad ability on Beheeyem, but having Stab on all of your non-contact moves, like Stab, Shadow Ball, you're already hitting quite hard, you have a very high special attack stat. Starmie doesn't really need Analytic. Natural Cure is a fine ability, but Starmie is a more offensive-oriented Pokemon. You'd much rather make use of its base 100 special attack and high speed. So Analytic is essentially useless on a Pokemon that fast. Illuminate is also useless, it has no effect in battle. Natural Cure would not be as good as Volatility, since now Starmie has Stab Ice Beams to throw off. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys enjoy. Bye!